Alrighty, so I haven't done Age of Empires here on this channel in like a while, and I've kind of was thinking, what can I do? Because there's a lot of people who are dedicated to Age of Empires 2 content or Age of Empires content in general. You got Spirit of the Law, you got T90 Official. There's probably a few other people out there, that are dedicated to it. But I want to kind of this my channel is not going to be solely based on Age of Empires. It's solely based on shooters right now. We're going to get back into a little bit of some Age of Empires 2. Some Age of Empires 2 tomorrow. But for today, we're going to actually be doing the Age of Empires. Which version is better? Which version is right for you? Okay? It's not which version is better, it's which version is right for you. Okay? Do you have a decent computer to run these games? Pretty much, you might have a decent way to run it. But so the first thing is let's go and talk about the Age of Empires 1. Now there's two versions of Age of Empires 1. There is Age of Empires 1 and there's Age of Empires 1 Definitive Edition. If you happen to have a computer that runs Windows 10 and you have at least like 8 gigs of, or at least 6 gigs of, basically if you can run Windows 10 on your laptop and you have 8 gigs of RAM, you're pretty much going to be able to run Age of Empires 1. But if you don't, and you have an older computer, you need to make sure that you have at least a Pentium 90 processor or faster, okay? And then you also need to make sure that you have at least something with you need at least a 2D graphics card, so at least 16 megabytes of RAM. You need at least Windows 95 or higher to run Windows 1, to run Age of Empires. So if you have Windows 95, that means it has to be, or Windows NT 4.0 with Service Pack 3, basically. You need to have at least 80 plus megabytes of storage, of hard drive space, and plus probably 50 more for HD for swappable files. I don't know much about Age of Empires 1 because, to be honest with you, I never really got into playing Age of Empires 1 on the old stuff. I played Age of Empires when I had a Windows XP. So, to be honest with you, if you happen to buy the Gold Edition, there is also the Gold Edition, which basically comes with Age of Empires 1 and Age of Empires 2 and all of its expansions. So just remember that if you do happen to buy Age of Empires 1, you're going to need to have a disk drive in order to play Age of Empires 1. Okay? If you happen to have Age of Empires 2, Age of Empires 1 DE, that's going to be much harder to run because it is a better better graphics. If you're wanting better graphics, Age of Empires 1 DE is better in graphics, better in pathfinding, better in quality of life improvements compared to Age of Empires 1. You're online, you're going to be able to find people to play online in Age of Empires 1 more than Age of Empires 1 DE because a lot more people have access to Age of Empires 1. But you will probably have to download like Game Ranger, Voobly, in order to be able to play Age of Empires 1. Now, to be able to play Age of Empires 1 DE, you're going to have at least Windows 10 version 1439 3.0 or higher is required to be able to play. You'll need a processor with at least 2.4 gigahertz, i5 or greater. So an Intel processor i5 or greater, it will do it. If you also have the AMD equivalent, you should be okay. Basically four threads, x64. Remember, it's got to be x64, not x32, not 32-bit. It's got to be 64-bit operating system, I guess. Graphics, you will need at least a GTX 650 or AMD HD 5850. you could probably get away with not having that memory. You could probably get away with 8 gigs of memory, but it's recommending that you have it recommended is 16 gigs. Storage 8 to 10 gigs. You don't really need if you don't have a beefy storage device, it's probably going to be okay for you there. So it basically, the pros of Age of Empires 1 is physicality. If something were to happen, you're going to be able to still play Age of Empires, because if Steam happens to go away or Microsoft Store happens to go away, you're still going to be able to play Age of Empires 1. However, Age of Empires 1 DE, you're not going to be able to have that, but that's the only con to it, is it's not physical, it's only digital. But if you happen to have the Age of Empires 1 DE, you're going to be able to have that quality of life improvements. You're going to have, being able to reseed farms, being able to walk through farms. To be honest with you, the graphics are not going to look old-timey graphics. It's going to look modern type of graphics. So that's the trade-off. Are you okay with the older graphics? Go get Age of Empires 1. If you want new, better graphics, go with Age of Empires 1 Definitive Edition. You're still going to have that problem with Age of Empires Definitive Edition, as you did in Age of Empires 1 naturally. But it did improve. They're improving it slowly. It was, I bought it through the Microsoft Store when it first got announced, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to pick it up. I want to play that game. That's my favorite game of all time. Age of Empires 2 now, there are 3 versions of Age of Empires 2. Actually, to be honest with you, there's only 3 PC versions. There's the PS2 version of Age of Kings, and then there is the Age of Empires 2 Age of Kings for the DS. Now, which version's right for you? Well, if you're wanting to take something portably, get a laptop. It's going to be a lot easier for you to play Age of Empires on the go, rather than playing it on the... Now, if you're not a big, huge RTS fan, or you know somebody who's not a big, huge RTS fan, but they love tactical strategy games, they love RPGs, like Final Fantasy Tactics, or anything like that, get them the Age of Empires 2 Age of Kings for the DS. It will be definitely... They'll like that game. I'm not a big, huge fan of it. I've played it through emulation. It's not that great. So the specs for Age of Empires 2. Now, this is the specs for Age of Empires 2 Conquerors. I did not give you the Age of Kings specifications for Windows. But if you have pretty much any of these games, as long as you have Windows 10, updated to the latest version, you should be able to play all of these games no matter what. Unless you don't have the graphics to handle it, which pretty much if you have, but if you don't, here's what the AoE 2 specs are. It's Microsoft Windows 2000 Professional, 9598, Windows Millennium Edition, Microsoft Workstation. You will need at least 32 megabytes of RAM, probably 64, maybe. I don't know. It might be better if you do the 32. You might need 64 megabytes if you have the Conqueror's expansion, which that's to each of their own. Disk space, it's only 180 megabytes, maybe 200 megabytes right there. And then you also need a CD-ROM, mouse, or compatible sound card, and you'll need a sound card too for Age of Empires 1 and 2. If you're playing something prior to Windows 7 or Windows XP, I believe you need a sound card. I'm not for sure if Windows XP needs it, because to be honest with you, I never messed with the old Windows operating systems. I haven't even built a system. Basically, what I'm currently using right now is the Windows. I'm using a laptop to be able to give you guys these great, wonderful content. Now, if you have Age of Empires 2, and you happen to buy and you go and search Steam, there are 2 versions of Age of Empires on Steam. Which version is right for you? There's Age of Empires 2 HD, and then there's Age of Empires 2 DE. Now, what you're going to need, for the HD version, you will need a Windows Vista or higher. Processor, you'll need at least 1.2 gigahertz. Memory, 1 gig of RAM. Graphics, DirectX 9 point compatible GPU. Hard drive space, 2 gigs of hard drive space. There's not. That's what I said. You might need 200 megabytes on the first one, because if you're gonna play other people's stuff, or you're gonna need more space anyways to play custom content. But you also need to be able to have Steam in order to be able to run Age of Empires 2 HD. So if you don't want to buy Steam, you don't want to be part of Steam, that's understandable. You don't have to go buy HD. Now, if you're looking at Age of Empires 2 specs, basically it's just a minimum processor, Intel Core 2 Duo or AMD Athlon 64X2 5600 plus. I don't know what it is, but I just know Intel Core 2 Duo or AMD equivalent, I guess. 4 gigs of RAM is the minimum. This is the minimum specs for graphics. You'll probably need a GeForce GT 420 or ATI Radeon HD 650 or an Intel HD graphics of 3000 or better with 2 gigs of VRAM. DirectX version 11. Okay, so basically those are your specs for that. So if you don't have a decent computer, Age of Empires 2 specs is probably what you probably want to get. Now, going between Age of Empires 1 and Age of Empires 2, if you like the Stone Age, you like the old-timey feel of Age of Empires 1 is going to be your best friend. If you're kind of like the Roman Empire, that kind of time period. If you like the Dark Age, the Feudal Age, the that kind of era, you're gonna love the Age of Empires 2, and you probably should get Age of Empires 2, and you should probably get the definitive edition. But if you don't happen to have the definitive edition, you can get the Age of Empires 2. Basically, the Age of Kings, you will need the Conquerors if you want to play that. Same with Age of Empires 1. I forgot to tell you that there was between the two. If you buy the first one, go buy the Gold Edition. You should be able to get all the Age of Empires games all in one package, Age of Empires 1 and 2. You won't get Age of Empires 3, by the way, but you will get the Golden Age of Empires. Which comes with the Age of Kings and the Conquerors, and then comes with the Rise of Rome expansion for Age of Empires 1. But Age of Empires 2, basically, you will be missing out on a lot of civilizations. So the cons is lots of civilizations are missing from there, and there is probably a mod out there that allows you to get those. If you happen to go and get the Forgotten Empires mod for the original Age of Empires 2, that is actually still a legit version of the game. That is actually considered a official support for the mod, because the original team who did that, they actually moved over to ask Microsoft to basically say, hey, we need some help. They basically got on board, and they were hired by Microsoft, and that's how we got Age of Empires 2 HD. It came with everything that we had for that. You also got 3 expansions through HD, so if you happen to want more civilizations and stuff, you're going to get that HD. You're going to get some quality of life improvements. You're not going to get that reseeding of the farm, though, but in Age of Empires 2, you really don't need that. You just go click, shift, click, and you can place a lot of farms that way. The pro of Age of Empires 2 is its physical. Modding communities very well supported there. Multiplayer, you're gonna probably need to get Game Ranger or Voobly. But that's basically, you're gonna have to have that anyway. So if you can't run Game Ranger, you can't run Voobly because of your system minimum requirements to play multiplayer, you don't have to play multiplayer. The campaigns, were great. But going into HD, you will have more in terms of better improvements. It's still graphical wise, it's still not as big, huge on the graphics as Definitive Edition is. So don't worry too much about that. If you want to be able to have continued support for Age of Empires, you're probably going to want to get the Age of Empires 2 DE. So you're going to get full support there. Same with Age of Empires 1 DE. Now, Age of Empires 2 DE, the big life, some improvements like reseeding of farms. You don't have to now push Q farms anymore. You will have the ability to have more civilizations. There was one small expansion. You got 2 new civs in the Definitive Edition. So if you happen to have HD, you will be missing, and by all the expansions, you'll be missing 2 civilizations. But that's pretty much, and maybe a campaign or 2 there for that. I think it's the Forbidden West, I think. I don't know. It's something had to do with West for the Definitive. So the cons of the first 2 base of the first one is not being loss of civilization, but you can modify that, you know. Physicality is you're gonna be able to have that physical for the first one. The other 2, no physicality. You are not tied to Steam though with the Definitive Edition. So that's the pro, is you can buy it from the Microsoft Store if you love Microsoft and you love the store, or you can go and buy the Definitive Edition on Steam. The limitations, there's no, pretty much, it's basically the pro of Definitive Edition and HD is quality of life improvements. DE has more quality of life improvements than HD. I'm not going into too much details. If you guys want to see all the different intricate details, you guys can go check out Spirit of the Law. He does some really great stuff with Age of Empires and telling you which version's better in more detail for me. Now let's get into the final Age of Empires. There's some other Age of Empires games, but we only have not too much of the games from here. Basically, there is, to be honest with you, the final entry in the franchise before the new Age of Empires 4 comes out. Hasn't come out yet, but we have Age of Empires 3, which will require you to have Windows XP, will require you to have similar specs, basically, to the HD, except it just requires Windows XP or higher. Windows XP Pro, you'll need Intel Core 2 Duo or AMD Athlon, 64X2 2 GHz or 2.2 GHz for that. Memory, you will also need 2 gigs of RAM, GeForce 6800 GeForce, and Radeon X 1300 for that. DirectX 9, and you'll need 12 gigs of hard drive space. Now that's just Age of Empires 3, but there are 3 connections. There are 2 other expansions to that. You can only have 1 installed at a time. Age of Empires 3 DE, however, will require basically an Intel Core i3 2015 3.1 gigahertz or AMD Phenom 2 X4 973. You'll need at least a minimum of 8 gigs of RAM and 42 gigabytes of storage. Now, yes, you could say that, if you want, it's going to be basically what comes right down to it is if you want the quality of life improvements, like being able to reseed farms, being able to have all the cards unlocked, being able to play all the civilizations all at one time, rather than having to say, hey, you want to play the Asian or the Asian expansion as well as the other expansion. I don't remember that one because I haven't played Age of Empires 3 that much. I'm to be honest with you. So basically, in Age of Empires 3, the cons of it are of all cards are locked. All cards are locked. Being able to only have 1 installed at a time. If you happen to have the pro of Age of Empires 3 is you can buy it physically or you can buy it digitally via Steam. You can also buy Age of Empires 3 DE only via Steam and or probably Microsoft Store. So if you're not, so basically that's the con to 3 DE is physical. Basically, all of these is basically the pros of them are quality life improvements to all the definitive editions, uh, more more civilizations, more stuff to do. Age of Empires HD editions gonna have less and less is gonna have less quality life improvements, but it's still gonna be better if you're wanting to be able to do that. Remember, if it's HD or definitive edition, you do not need to have the special programs. You can play them right off the bat from the servers, peer to peer. In that, I mean, if you want to play the mode Battle Royale, you're going to need to get Age of Empires Definitive Edition 2 to be able to play Battle Royale. But other than that, pretty much Age of Empires is one of the greatest games of all time. You know, I did a thing previously on that. I don't know if I posted up here on the history of Age of Empires. So if you guys want to see that in more depth, I will. It will show you everything up to Age of Empires 1 Definitive Edition. Age of Empires 4, when that comes out, we will definitely check that out. There's been some new light information on that. So yeah, so we will see you guys in the next one. If you guys did enjoy, make sure you guys are subscribed to the wonderful, lovely Gamingmadirocks. And also make sure that you hit that like button, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Yeah, tomorrow will be more Age of Empires 2 content. Maybe Age of Empires 3. I haven't decided which game yet, but we will definitely get into that for Tuesday. The reason why I am not going to be live this week is because Tuesday I'm getting the first shot, and I also might have to, Monday I'm working. So if you guys are watching this, this is being recorded on Saturday, the 17th of April 2021. So, yeah, so we'll see you guys in the next one. If you guys did enjoy, like I said, hit that beautiful like button, hit that subscribe, make sure you hit that bell notification, and we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.